As I was trying to decide what was going to be the first story that I use this avatar to talk about in honor and memory of Charlie Kirk, I had a couple of things in mind. I thought maybe I was going to talk about this article from Not the Bee about conservatives being chased off of campus as leftists being emboldened by the assassination of Charlie Kirk are now bound and determined to ensure that no debate in which the host of that debate has a viewpoint in which they disagree with. And we're going to start seeing this more and more across campuses that are dominated by leftists, where conservatives trying to honor the memory and continue the legacy of Charlie Kirk are going to be chased off of campus. Then, of course, there is the story about leftist women downing Tylenol as fast as they can after the Trump administration had come out talking about the reports about how Tylenol is a contributing factor to autism in children if taken by pregnant women. And the jokes here about the women on the left downing Tylenol write themselves. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to either one of those stories because now we need to talk about the shooting at the ICE facility down in Texas.
This is what ICE fears most, and that is an attack on them. Fox can confirm through ICE sources that there was this attack this morning at the Dallas facility. Shots were fired into the sally port of this facility along the freeway there in Dallas, and the ICE confirms that the shooter is down, a self-inflicted wound, and that 3 individuals have been hit.
Now, the only people out there who were surprised to find out that the shooter in this incident was a radical leftist was the left, who have been deluding themselves for a long time about where most of the political violence comes from. And of course, we know that they're going to go out there and say, hey, we don't know that this was political violence. We don't know the motivation of the shooter. You know, all the other bull crap that they engage in order to avoid admitting what the rest of us already know to be true. And as is the case with the rise of left-wing violence, and while I say the rise of left-wing violence, what I mean is the increased frequency of left-wing violence. They want to make sure that everybody knows who did it and why, as they are now engaging in this trend whereby they are putting the talking points and slogans on the bullet casings so that when they are found, everybody knows why they did it and what they were trying to accomplish, probably in an attempt by the radical extremists to get a message through that says, hey, media, don't bother downplaying this, don't bother lying. We're going to make it as crystal clear as possible who did it and why. And we have this picture from the FBI director showing the bullet casings from the unfired bullets. Now, the suspect in this case is dead, but what is motivating the rise of left-wing violence, the frequency at which it is happening? Well, that is no surprise. As I talked about in the last episode, is we only need to take a look at the rhetoric of the left to see what is motivating them. Rhetoric such as this.
When I see ICE, I see slave patrols.
Modern day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense. Not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye, just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on someone, on Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, on Representative or any of the representatives that were there, you lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem. Because the people who are breaking the law are the people who are not abiding by it. And it is enshrined in the law that members of Congress who show up to ICE and CBP facilities are required to be granted access, legally required.
So here we have yet another example whereby the left, disagreeing with a policy, is going out and demonizing people, comparing them to the slave trade, comparing them to Nazi Germany, going out and calling them human rights violators, all simply because they're doing their job. They're doing what the law says they should be doing. The laws, by the way, passed by Congress and been on the books for a very long time. But the left doesn't care. They don't care that they are getting people killed. It's all about political power to them. And why do you think you have the state of California with Gavin Newsom out there passing laws thinking that they can actually enforce them, demanding that ICE agents have to be unmasked when they are performing their duties, when they are out there arresting criminals and people in the country illegally, because they know how violent and dangerous their followers are. They know that if their face is on video arresting illegal immigrants or engaging in drug busts, that the left is spinning off and thinking that that is part of immigration enforcement, which there could be overlap between immigration enforcement and drug busts. They want those agents to be unmasked so that the people that follow them on the internet can do their research to figure out who they are, where they live, where their families are, and then left-wing extremists are going to go target them personally at their residence, threaten their families, take out their children even. It's all about threats and intimidation to the point whereby no one will ever work for ICE. That is the goal. And if there are no ICE agents, there's no immigration enforcement. That is what they are planning on doing here. And look, it's not like this was unforeseeable. We already knew that there was escalation in violence against the left. We've been seeing it for quite some time. Take a look.
Arrived here was a different scene on Friday when the agents had to use tear gas, flashbangs, and some pepper spray to control the situation out here. The numbers vary depending on who is doing the reporting, but ICE says they picked up some 16 people on Friday.
In Rochester, New York, this Immigration and Border Control vehicle had all 4 tires slashed. The attack came as more than 100 protesters confronted federal agents and forced them to retreat.
They said a lot of people left once unlawful assembly was declared, but some in the crowds got violent, vandalizing buildings and attacking officers. 2 officers were injured.
The violence and the targeted attacks on law enforcement, especially ICE agents, is nothing new. It's been escalating for quite a while. It's been escalating because the left has been escalating in the frequency of their demonization because they're constantly promoting ideas and policies that are indefensible. So, of course, all they can do is demonize and dehumanize. But when they do that in combination with making sure that there is absolutely no punishment or consequences when the people on their side go off and engage in this violence, well, they've gotten way too comfortable with it, which is why they are continuing to increase the frequency of this violence, why they are escalating. So now they're not just going out there dressed in all black with some bats and throwing punches. They're going out there with guns now, shooting and assassinating their political opponents or anybody who they perceive as helping, aiding, and abetting the political opponents. They cannot stand any viewpoints in which they disagree with and they react violently. So what is the solution to this? Well, if the states are not going to step up in these left-wing districts and hold these people accountable for the crimes that they are committing, then the federal government really needs to start charging these people with terrorism. Any politically motivated violence is terrorism, and we really need to be taking a look at any federal law that we can use to charge them with federal crimes anytime they get out of control and start attacking people, vandalizing property, all of that. We need to make sure that there is zero tolerance on violence. But we also need to take it one step further and take a look at where the source of this violence is coming from, where it is they are getting the idea that it is okay, appropriate, and right to be celebrated for doing these things. And that starts in the public school system. I started alluding to this in the long form content that I had previously produced, but we really need to step up. As conservatives, as people who love peace, we need to step up, not just going to the school board meetings and going out there and yelling about this and that, or trying to get them in a gotcha by reading the very things that they are trying to promote in the classrooms. No, we need to get more involved by running in school board elections. We need to be able to get to the point where we take over the schools. We need to be writing to the state legislatures demanding reforms to the public school system to turn them into publicly neutral space or politically neutral space. and prevent the teachers from being able to radicalize the students, from being able to lie to the parents, from being able to hide what they are teaching the kids in the classroom from the parents. We need to go off and we really need to focus on the schools. And as we take over the schools and we stop this violent, hateful rhetoric, then we'll see a decrease in violence over time. In the meantime, we really need to figure out a solution that really pushes back against the left and makes it so that they don't dare engage in this violent rhetoric again. Now, how do you do that non-violently? Well, that's for someone smarter than me to figure out. That's all I got for you in this episode. See you next time.